I can't make an open-ended commitment to remove anybody, but I will tell you that I am struck, and my colleagues and I are struck by the growing number of cases of what appears to be debanking, and we're determined to take a fresh look at that.
Ron Paul should lead a Federal Reserve audit. And on and on it goes. So it really, Dr. Paul made a huge impact over the weekend. This idea of you being involved in the process of auditing the Fed.
Well, my first reaction is go slow, think about this, and don't get too excited because I know the ups and downs of all this.
As if the 2025 election couldn't get any crazier, with Donald Trump and Elon Musk absolutely causing chaos in the deep state, things are about to get even crazier. Elon Musk has been hinting at putting Ron Paul in charge of the Federal Reserve, and we all know what happens from there, a dismantling of the Federal Reserve as we know it, massive implications. Congress ending the Federal Reserve, how in the world would this actually look? You better believe this is a fight for our lives, our freedom, our sovereignty, and the literal future of America. We all know these elite bankers have been in control with a death grip for over 100 years here in America, but now they might just be truly shaking in their boots, because if we pull this off, the entire house of cards comes crashing down. So let's take a look at what would actually happen if Elon Musk and Donald Trump put Ron Paul in place and end the Federal Reserve as we know it. First off, let's talk about what the Federal Reserve even is. I want you to think it's some boring government agency, but it's time to wake up. The Federal Reserve is a private banking cartel created in 1913 by the Rockefellers, the Morgans, and the Rothschilds. These are the puppet masters pulling the strings behind the curtain, and they control the entire money supply. They control the interest rates. They even control you. They control your buying power, and they've been doing it for over a century, sucking the lifeblood out of the American people, 1 inch at a time. Now, if Congress actually grows a spine and ends the Federal Reserve, here's what would happen. And you better brace yourself, because it is going to be wild. First, monetary policy. Gone. No more unelected bureaucrats in suits deciding how much your dollar is worth in the back rooms. But there's the kicker, folks. Without the Federal Reserve, the economy would absolutely go haywire. Inflation would go through the roof, and deflation so bad that all of a sudden you're buttering chickens for bread. It would be absolute chaos. And as this banking cartel says, see, we told you so. But don't fall for their trap. This is their game. And let's talk about the banks within this. The Federal Reserve's propping up these corrupt zombie banks for decades, bailing them out with your tax dollars. And remember in 2008, remember 2020? They call it lender of last resort. But I call it crony capitalism. If we end the Fed, these banks might have to collapse under their weight. And yes, there will be bank runs and even bank bail-ins going into your bank account to take what's left before they completely collapse. Panic in the streets would likely ensue, but guess what? The reset is what we need to start a new, fresh economy. Let the free market clean its house. Let the fraudsters and scammers go down, and Congress have a better plan, or the big banks will just take over once again, and we'll be right back to where we originally started, again enslaved by Wall Street. Now, for the US dollar, this is the big one. The dollar is the world reserve currency, and that is why America is still standing. The Fed's been printing money like this is monopoly money, devaluing your savings, your wages, and your future. If we do indeed see the end of the Fed, the dollar would likely crash. And in that instance, it would crash very, very hard. Over a few years time frame, seeing risk assets experience a lot of that headwind as the pressures hit Wall Street. Foreign governments, China, Russia, they would dump our treasury bonds, and they would be laughing in our faces as we're borrowing at rates that make your head spin. But here's the thing, people. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need to take a break free from this fake fiat system and go back to true value, true money, gold, silver, Bitcoin, something that has a tangible perceived value, and more so something that is outside of the control of these central banks. And now let's talk about the inequality that's been created. The Fed has been juicing the stock market, pumping trillions of dollars into the pockets of the billionaire class while we're out here struggling to pay rent. Quantitative easing is what everyone begs for to pump our altcoins, more like quantitative stealing. If we end the Fed, there might be some chaos because this propped up market wouldn't have all of its juice to run off of, but don't let them tell you it'll hurt the little guy more. That's the big lie here. The little guy's already hurting. Without the Federal Reserve, private banks might try to take over, but we can't let that happen. We need to take back control, put the power back into the people's hands and not the elites. History tells this backstory. Back in 1800s, we didn't have a central bank. And yes, there were panics, but guess what? The people were free. The panic of 1907 as well. That's when J.P. Morgan stepped in, and that's when they decided, hey, let's create the Federal Reserve to lock down the system and control it entirely. They sold it as stability, but but it wasn't stability. It was absolute control. Now, some folks say, oh, let's go back to the gold standard. I say, why not? But guess what? Gold has a competitor now, and that major competitor is Bitcoin. And gold holders better watch out for its main competitor, Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe the future, but we see Wall Street is already trying to co-opt and control Bitcoin through these ETFs and the supply that they're holding there within. So what's the bottom line here? Ending the Federal Reserve is a fight of our generation, but it's not going to be easy. It likely will have extreme headwinds, very, very cataclysmic for the markets in the short term, and Congress better have a good plan if this is actually going down, or we are just simply walking into a trap. We need real money, we need real freedom, and we need the real power back in the hands of the little guy. Don't fall for all the lies, don't fall for the fear. This is our chance to break free and take down the banking cartel to reclaim our future for our children and their children. Stay strong, stay informed, stay based, and make sure to keep your crypto off of exchanges in case we see this go down. Make sure to put your crypto in cold storage. We do have an awesome partner, Arculus, with a link for 10% off. Click the link down in our description and take advantage of that to become your own bank. And with all of the things that we're facing in 2025, I'll be with you every single step of the way daily at 12:15 Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon to bring you the latest news and break it down. Until next time, Druth out.